Here we have set up the Battle of Loos, 2nd Division Diversionary Attack of September 25th, 1915, or the third scenario of the Great War, the latest title in the Commands and Colors family of games designed by Richard Borg. I'm a big fan of this game system because, even though it's not designed for it, it offers one of, in my opinion, the better solitaire experiences. With the older games in the series, like Ancients, Napoleonics, and Battle Cry, the simplest method and the method that works best for me is to have the opponent's deck, your AI as it were, dealt out to them as you would normally, and shuffle it up and draw one card when it's their turn and use it to the best that you can in that situation. That way, you're not really cheating the artificial opponent, but at the same time, you don't know what they're going to do. You can't plan a strategy because you can't think of what other cards they have in their hand. Now, when this first came out, the Great War, I was a little hesitant, even though I love the subject matter. I have a family relation to the Great War. My great-grandfather fought in it at many famous battles, including Vimy Ridge. But I was kind of turned off because of the combat card mechanics and the HQ coins, points, whatever the hell they are. Because it's basically an adaptation from the Battle Lore games of the lore and the lore cards and stuff, which I used to have Battle Lore. I would like to get it back now after figuring this out here, but I used to have Battle Lore, but I was kind of turned off because I felt the lore mechanic and managing this economy of lore tokens and lore cards, and it just became too much because your hand got full and there's too many options. And also, the reason why I was largely turned off of that, because being a largely solitaire player, because I don't have a dearth of physical human opponents, I didn't see how I was going to be able to adapt that aspect into a solitaire experience. But I'm happy to say I figured it out to my satisfaction with this game. Play it. These are public information, public being me. But when it comes down to the fact of whether or not the opponent plays them, I leave up to a die roll. Basically, starting with the highest combat card value, i.e. highest HQ cost, I will roll a die, as long as they have the HQ to use it. And it's basically 50-50, 4, 5, or 6 of a die, it uses it. If not, it doesn't use it. And then you move down to the second one, roll a die, 4, 5, or 6, it uses it. In this case, it would. And of course, if it doesn't have any actual effect, if it makes no sense to play it in the turn, obviously you skip that one. But basically, you go down the line until it decides to use one, or if it's possible, it might not use any of them, which, human beings being fickle, might be the case in a real opponent. So, there's a randomness there. And it's easy. Once it's selected, you pay the cost. It's pretty straightforward where one of these cards would be utilized. And this basically D6 randomization system is applied to whether or not the opponent uses artillery or in any other situation, although as far as which units are moved around the board, you just do what makes the most sense with the card you're using. And that's just about it. It's a satisfactory system. I played the two introductory scenarios, opening action 1 and 2, and playing as the British both times. I won with the British the first time, and the Germans beat me in the second one. As you may have noticed, my figures in this game are not quite the same as when they first come out of the box. And anybody who's bought this game knows that each individual figure comes from the sprue of plastic of which it was molded into, and you gotta do the labor to get them out and looking decent enough to play with. But I decided not to stop there and based all of my figures and painted them, putting a bit of TLC to them, a little bit of flocking and whatnot. And other than looking really awesome, it makes it a lot more convenient when you're setting up the game. It can be quite tedious, as any Commands and Colors player knows, to set out each individual block, finding them in the first place, and then setting it up in each little hex, because that takes up almost as much time as the game itself. But in this case, It's easy. One rifleman element, pick it up, put it on there. Same with a machine gun, mortar, whatever. And you're done. And the way I track wounds is through the use of tiny dice. I have ordered smaller dice and dice frames, which will be glued to the bases in the corners there, which will keep the dice more secure. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. The British move first, and let's see. The initial bombardment has left 2 openings in the barbed wire line here, here, which also offers cover. So this spot here is looking pretty juicy for an attack. And the defense is, well, it's pretty minimal all the way around. But I think if I have the cards for it, I will start there. This is my initial hand. Probe left, recon center, attack center, outflanked, and probe right. Combat cards are butt and bayonet, battle fury, and combat card espionage. The command card I'm going to use for this first turn is outflanked. Left and right sections, order 2 units. In unison with that, I'll be playing the combat card espionage, which costs 2 HQ tokens. Alright, play alongside your command card, target your opponent. Draw up to 3 combat cards at random from opponent's hand. Return 1 card to your opponent and discard the others. Very nasty. After shuffling the opponent's combat cards, I discarded the 2 and he was left with shell shortage. The 2 units I'll be moving on my left flank will be the one here, the infantry with the bomber, and the one behind them, moving up into the craters. Now they both move twice, so none of them will be able to fire this turn. On my right flank, I will be moving these grassy fellas here. They'll move up twice. And lastly, I'll be using my artillery barrage. My maximum for this scenario is 3. So 3 HQ tokens for an artillery barrage on the German machine gun placement. A 4 and a 3, which results in nothing good happening. Our replacement command card is a probe center card, and since I only have 3 HQ tokens, I will elect to draw 2 more. Having shuffled the opponent's command cards, we will now draw to see what it will do. Attack right. And these are its options. I think the Germans are going to move this guy here. They're going to move this guy up behind. And why not the machine gun? So we'll have more opportunities to fire upon the advancing British. The Germans, having only moved 1 hex this turn, are able to fire upon these British coming over the crater's edge. The Germans get nothing but an HQ token because the infantry and flag result are both negated by the fact that the British are in a crater. That being the Germans' turn, it now decides, through the roll of a die, whether it's going to take 2 HQ tokens or a combat card. And since it has no combat cards available, the default is to take a combat card. What do we got? Butts and bayonet. Interesting. The second card to be played on the British side will be probe left to reinforce the breakthrough on the left flank. And since they both only moved once this turn, they each get to attack. Close combat. Now, since this British unit has a bomber unit, at close range it gets an extra dice, and will be scoring a hit on the Skull of Death, which we do get one, and a burst, which can't be ignored. We also get an HQ token, but the retreat is ignored. So first, we'll get our token, and we've got 2 hits on this bugger. So we'll use a tiny die to record that. Next, we have this unit, which will roll the normal 3 dice, and it will ignore this. The enemy has a combat card, which will allow it to do something. So, it'll get 2 chances to use this. Basically, the wording says, play after opponent's close combat roll is resolved. Target 1 defending unit. If your defending unit is not eliminated or forced to retreat during the close combat, your unit may battle back with 1 additional die against the enemy that just attacked. So, to be fair, this unit will get 2 rolls to see if it actually uses this combat card. For the first attack with the bomber unit, it does not use it. Second, it does. Oh dear. So, that's a hit, because it's close combat, and that's a token. So, down to 2. After discarding our new command card is Big Show. Since I have enough HQ tokens, I think I'll get a combat card, which is Short Supply. Very good. What do the nefarious Germans have in store for us? Recon in force. That's not good. I think this unit will go out with a bang, because it's most likely going to die soon, but hopefully it can take this British unit with it. And for the other 2 sections of the battle, we're going to roll to see if the Germans will deploy an artillery bombardment. So for the center, it does. The Germans will attack this hex because it's quite juicy, and any misfired or misaimed shells will have a very good chance of hitting somebody else anyway, and that will cost 4, because as far as my solitaire rules go, whenever the enemy fires its artillery, it fires for full effect. The enemy's left flank will, I think, move the machine gun like so. Artillery is resolved first. We'll get that 4 dice. Oh my. So that's quite nasty. That's a complete miss. Well, not a miss, but a ineffective hit, because the trench protects the infantry from both of these. 2 of them, actually. Now, we get to roll 2 more dice against the mortar team here. And that cannot be ignored. So, the mortar team is reduced by 1. And lastly, 1 dice attack on those infantry there, which is absorbed by the trench's defense. The machine gun in the left flank cannot attack because it moved, but these fellas here will attack You get a burst and 2 infantry symbols. The trench, the crater absorbs 1, but it eats these 2, which means they are toasty. And that eliminated unit means a victory point for the Germans. This unit could gain ground, but I don't see any advantage in doing that. Being once again spent of combat cards, the Germans will elect to take one at the end of their turn, and they get pigeons. Because it is the start of the British turn, and I have a unit starting on the front line trench, the British get a victory medal, which is temporary as long as there is a unit on this trench. I'll get it out of the way. As soon as this unit leaves that trench, or is eliminated, then that medal goes away. Since I want to continue my advance on the left flank here, but don't actually have any command cards which really allow that, I will choose to use the Big Show. The Big Show states, for each command card you have, including this card, roll 1 die. A soldier symbol orders an infantry unit. A deadly die side orders a machine gun or mortar unit. Each flank orders 1 battlefield unit of your choice. Collect 1 HQ token for each AQ rolled. Ordered units battle with 1 additional die for the entire turn. Reshuffle the command card deck and discards. Also reshuffle the combat card deck and discards. Along with the Big Show command card, I choose to play the Short Supply combat card, which costs 3. And basically, I get to choose any unit on the board, mine or the opponent's, and I have to move that unit to the baseline edge of either mine, if it's my unit, or theirs, if it is theirs, and any hex. And I think the best thing to do here is to order this guy here, and he will move to the baseline edge. And to decide which one, well, we'll just go with the only available trench section. Since I have 5 command cards, including the Big Show, which I just played, I will roll 5 dice and see what it gets me. Oh dear. I wound up with a burst symbol, which is nothing. I got an HQ symbol, which gives me a token. And I get to select any battlefield unit of my choice with this flag, and 2 either mortars or machine guns. So I will select this unit for my unit of choice, and for mortar and machine gun teams, I think I will select this machine gun team and this machine gun team, which will, I think, actually be able to do a crossfire on this German unit. Since my British bomber unit has a bomber in it, it will roll 4 dice, and it will also wound on skulls. Oh my. That's 4 infantry dice. 2 are negated by the trench, but the remaining 2 will eliminate this German unit. And I think we'll gain ground. My 2 ordered machine guns are within range to order 3 combat dice at this German unit. So that's 6 dice in total. And these craters and trenches and what have you, barbed wire, do not block line of sight. One infantry, 2 infantry, 3 infantry, 4 infantry, a flag, and an HQ token. The trench will negate 2 of these soldier tokens and this retreat token, but 2 hits do go through. I just reread the big show and realized that I missed out on extra battle dice for those ordered units. It didn't much matter in the case of these infantry because they destroyed their target anyway, but I should have had 2 more dice for these machine gunners. So I'm going to roll these 2 dice, see what it gets me. And that's nothing, so there's no point to that.